GT4 cars. In the current version, 7.4, of course, we've got 5 of them in 2019 season. We got Porsche 718 Cayman GT4 Clubsport, Aston Martin Vantage GT4, Chevy Camaro GT4R, Mercedes-AMG GT4, and finally Audi R8 LMS GT4. So all of these cars are going to have basically limited times series for us to win, and I believe, considering that their PR's relatively close, I'm expecting the cost of upgrade to win are fairly close, if not exactly identical. Basically 3 upgrades across the board, right? And since this is not limited time series, this is a motorsports series, you only need 1 car out of the 5 to actually complete the season. They don't have showcase events in these motorsports section of the game. So in this video, we'll do some comparison of the 5. So if you're only able to afford, if you're unable to afford all 5 cars, then maybe this video might give you some ideas on which one might suit your racing style. So, of course, in this video, we're comparing the stock stats, so no upgrades. It's just the base PR with however the car comes. Alright, so first, let's compare the overall PR real quick, right? So the PR does range from Mercedes having the lowest PR of 48.3, there we go, to the Camaro having the highest PR of 48.7. As I said, I'm comparing base PR, but I believe when they are fully upgraded, they kind of follow the same trend. So when they're fully upgraded, the Camaro does still have the highest PR. What does that mean? Well, only time PR really matters is for cup races, right? Because if you don't meet the PR requirement, you simply cannot get into race. So that is something that something to keep in mind, that possibly Camaro might have that slight advantage over really the rest of the cars. But we'll see how close they keep it. But for now, that'll be for another video. This this video is strictly for comparison of these cars. So let's go through the 4 categories that in the game we assess the car's performance, right? We got top speed, acceleration, braking distance, and grip. And of course, PR is the overall kind of rating, right? So for our normal driving style, you either like the cars with quick acceleration and highest top speed, or ones that may sacrifice a little bit of those for a better cornering and better grip, right? So obviously, higher grip means less skidding around the track, and you're able to carry more speed through corners. So, with that being said, speaking of grip, Audi has one of the higher grip rating of 1.52G, and that is actually tied with Camaro. So both Camaro and Audi has the highest grip up 1.52, And on the other side, the lowest grip is on the Mercedes 1.46G, which still is not bad, but in this group, that is the lowest grip rating. And in between, we have the Aston Martin Vantage with 1.5G of grip, and the Cayman with the slightly less 1.49G. So those two are kind of in the middle, with Camaro and Audi on top for grip, and Mercedes at the bottom of that tree, if you will. Now, the braking, right? Braking distance on this one, once again, when you have the highest grip, you can kind of expect it's going to have the best braking distance as well, and that is the case. So Audi and Camaro are going to have the best or shortest braking distance of 30.1 meters. And on this, or in this category actually, Cayman, Porsche, does come tied with 30.1 meters for that. So that is a little interesting twist. So yeah, so Audi with 30.1 meters as well. But because the grip I think grip plays a bigger role than braking distance for the most part, at least the way I race, that grip tends to play a greater role, and maybe acceleration over top speed, maybe. So speaking of acceleration, in that category, there's a single car that comes out ahead of everybody. Well, actually, there are two cars. I lied. There are two cars that come out ahead of the rest of the crew here. So the top contenders are Camaro with the acceleration of 4 seconds, 0 to 60. But since we're in metric, let's go with a 0 to 100. And tied with this 4-second mark is Aston Martin Vantage GT4. So yeah, so Camaro does have the top spec so far on 3 out of the 4, not including PR categories, right? So it's got the top acceleration, or fastest acceleration, shortest braking distance, and the best grip out of the 5 cars. The other cars kind of mixed in the middle somewhere. And in terms of the slowest acceleration is gonna be the Porsche with 4.15 seconds. And second slowest, or second from the bottom, is gonna be the Audi with a 4.09 second, and then the Mercedes being the, I guess you can say, the third fastest, since Aston Martin and Chevy Camaro are tied for acceleration. And finally, the top speed, right? Mercedes has the highest top speed of 271 kilometers per hour, and it is tied with the Porsche, these Germans, with their top speed, right? So they're both at 271 kph for top speed, so they are the fastest 2 cars. And if you've been wondering, so far Camaro has been coming on top all throughout. So how does it fare in top speed? Well, something's got to give, right? You cannot have one car that rules over all of them. So Camaro has the lowest top speed of 263 kph. So, for example, if you're planning on participating in, let's say, GT4 Team Top Speed Challenge, this car is not gonna do it for you, because that is a pretty wide gap. Fastest cars are pulling 271 kph, and Camaro's coming in pretty good distance behind at 263 kph, as you can see. So the fastest one being the two Germans, Mercedes and Porsche, coming in at 271 kph, and I guess Audi's German too, but Audi's gonna come behind Aston Martin Vantage, which has the top speed of 268 kph, and then Audi comes in with a 267 kph, so they're pretty close. But as I said, top speed wise, the not Audi, the Mercedes and Porsche just kind of pulls ahead, right? So comparing the speed side of things, Camaro does have the best acceleration along with Aston Martin Vantage, but because its top speed is just not high enough. If we just go with the top speed only, really the contenders are either, I think, Mercedes or Porsche. Between those two, the winner is going to be determined. And because Mercedes does have the quicker acceleration of 4.05 seconds compared to 4.15 seconds of Porsche, on the straight path, Mercedes will pull ahead. Now, Vantage has also tied for acceleration with the Camaro for the top, the fastest acceleration. So, if the straight path is not enough to reach the very top speed of 271, then of course, Aston Martin Vantage does kind of have a bit of an edge there too, as long as it's gonna be distance that we can achieve the top speed is long enough to go past 263, which is the top speed of Camaro, right? So yeah, these 5 cars, the strength and weakness, they're not quite as straightforward as just say like one car is the best gripper and another car is the best sprinter. It's quite a bit more nuanced. There's more to it. But they, of course, to solve that dilemma, they do give us the PR, and that's why Camaro does have the highest PR, because only time Camaro is going to not be able to come ahead is very limited section of a race where the straight path that we're racing down is longer than what you can do reaching the top speed of 263, because obviously Camaro tops out at 263, and we're talking just stock. So once you upgrade this car to a little bit more upgrades on this car, then most likely we're extending that distance that this car can still come out ahead. So overall, I mean, this car does have the best grip and best acceleration and best braking distance. So it is difficult to bet against Camaro in this group of 5 cars. So with all costs being equal, if you have only single car to choose, I would choose Camaro. But with that being said, things aren't quite that straightforward, right? So if you do need to reach higher top speed, then Mercedes and Porsche does have that quite a bit more open top end, that also with more upgrades that you can put on, it will even only go higher, right? So we're talking like Le Mans, the 24-hour circuit with the Mulsanne straight. You know, you can take advantage of that really the open-ended top speed. So tracks like that, perhaps Mercedes might have certain edge over even Camaro. But then again, you know, if the car cannot grip heading into Mulsanne, then you might have an issue there. So yes, it's a bit more complicated, right? So when in doubt, you can go with a PR. So if you have to choose only one car, perhaps Camaro is the best one to go with. And as I said, you only need one car to complete all five, the entirety of the series, right? And of course, these cars are all limited time series cars. I'm anticipating, since Audi cost was 286 gold, I'm expecting Camaro's going to cost about the same. And let's see. And then it's a matter of dealing with other category of specs. So let's see. And the PR rating does, I think, give us a pretty accurate reflection of how these cars really do. Sometimes I wonder about the PR rating. Like, I'm referring to, let's say, the Le Mans prototypes, LMP1s. I don't think there's any chance that Nismo comes out as a loser when it's up against either Porsche 919 hybrid or the Audi e-tron Quattro. You know, of course, Audi in that category does have the highest PR because of its high grip, but you know, when I'm driving those cars, top speed and the top acceleration always trumps over all the other stuff. You know, a little bit. I mean, they all have such great grip that you know, when you have significantly higher top speed and acceleration than the rest, perhaps you know, PR, you can kind of overcome that PR deficit. You know what I mean? I mean, that, for all I know, that might apply in this GT4 category as well. Like Mercedes, even though it's got the lowest PR, but if the grip, once it's upgraded, once grip is high enough, perhaps it's good enough that the determining factor might end up becoming more on the speed side and acceleration. But of course, in this case, in these category of cars, Camaro does still hold edge on acceleration over the others. So that's why I'm thinking Camaro is the top contender in this group. Possibly followed by Vantage, I'm thinking. And PR does reflect that. Actually, they put both Vantage and the R8 LMS GT4, the Audi, at the same PR rating of 48.5. So if you're thinking those two, if those two are more of the balanced pair, then between those two, Audi is the gripper and the Vantage is the sprinter, because grip is slightly better on the Audi. Of course, the limited time series for this car is currently running, so if you haven't had a chance to drive this car, it grips like no other. I mean, it's good. And of course, I'm looking forward to the Camaro limited time series because it's got the same grip but with better acceleration. So that should be, you know, pretty good comparison. But of course, the next limited time series that's coming up isn't for Camaro, it's for Cayman, Porsche. So a little different. But yeah, so Camaro, I think once again, overall winner out of the five, just on specs alone. How it performs in actual races might vary, and also depending on your racing style. You know, I mean, you have to take advantage of the strength of the car, right? So if you're not taking advantage of the high grip, then you know that's car having the great grip becomes kind of a moot point. So that's why I premise this video with the notion that it kind of depends on your driving style and your preference. You want to pick the car that complements that, right? But across the board, when the grip is higher, generally it's a little bit more forgiving, I think, because you don't just skid out of track, you know. So that's the comparison between Aston Martin Vantage and Audi R8 LMS GT4. So gripper versus the Sprinter, and then that leaves us with the remaining two German makers, Porsche and Mercedes. Between those two, once again, it's pretty straightforward. Cayman is the gripper, simply because it does not have as quick of an acceleration. Cayman has 4.15 seconds for the acceleration, while Mercedes has 4.05 seconds, so 0.1 second faster in that aspect. But of course, grip is higher on the Porsche, and braking distance is better on Porsche. Top speed is identical, 271. So yeah, so you kind of have to, out of five cars, one is definitely coming out ahead. And then you can think of the Vantage, Aston Martin, and Audi kind of in a more grippier pair. And between those grippier pair, you can say Audi's the gripper and Aston Martin Vantage is the Sprinter. And on the other side of the spectrum, the speedsters, between Mercedes and Porsche. Porsche is the grippier one, and the Mercedes is more on the speedster side of the equation. So hopefully that explanation all makes sense. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to write them down in the comment section below, what your favorite car is or might be. So yeah, so happy racing. We'll see you on the track, and yeah, take care.